I'm no spring expert. I've done a few of them, but what I've noticed is my buggy was sagging a little bit. Wasn't sitting quite as high as it was, and when I would come down off of things, didn't seem to have the same tension that it did. You know, areas where I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have hit the bottom so hard. It just seemed like it just didn't have enough ump in the springs anymore. And so I talked to a few people, and they suggested I just go ahead and change them. Kind of a win-in question, and Shock Therapy come out with 2 springs set up for the back instead of 3. So that was kind of a plus. Anyway, so it's just a matter of taking them off and kind of figuring out, you know, where the new ones need to have the crossovers at. It's not difficult. It took maybe 3-4 hours. You know, tough part is using the spring compressor. It's not as do it for you as you might think. You've got to kind of finagle things around, and it's not a gimme, and you got to be very careful. You got to get them set right so that you can actually get done what you want to get done and get the spring off. If you don't grab enough spring, you know, that's kind of tough, because then you get it about halfway there and you still don't have enough room to get done what you want to do. So it takes you a little experimenting to figure out how to get all that done at one time. But you can do it. It's not a big deal, but always remember safety first. This isn't really an instructional video. This is kind of how I did it, and maybe you'd find better ways, but I got it done, and that's all that matters to me. I'm not going into the spring replacement business, that's for sure. Now, you got to take this cartridge off, and it takes 5mm Allen wrench. You could use your ratchet. I use this Allen wrench just because I don't know why. Stupid, I guess. You need to take that off because that's hooked into your shock. And then we're going to see if we can get this top bolt out. Let me get you in here. That's where the top bolt's at. So it's a little tougher than the others. Going to take a little more manual labor, but we're going to get this broke loose, or this nut off this bolt, and then we're going to go down to the bottom, get it loose, and then we'll take it out, and then we'll take this one out. We can pull that whole shock up. Should be able to pull it up right through this hole. So, or down through the bottom. I don't know, whichever I'm tall enough to do. The Shock Therapy people that I bought these through, there's other companies out there. I just happen to like dealing with Shock Therapy. I've dealt with them on a couple of issues that I've wanted to change on this machine, and they seem to be really nice, do a good job. Have done a really good job of explaining things to me that I didn't understand. And you know, I've heard people with good and better opinions of particular companies. I've not heard anything bad about several of the companies out there doing it. It just seems to be a thing of personal preference. So you deal with who you feel comfortable with. I'm surely not in the, I don't want to influence anybody. I just want to show that average guy with average tools can do this at home. And if you own one of these side-by-sides, there's a good chance that if you start doing a little investigating, you're going to find out you need to do it. Because everybody that I know that takes this hobby remotely serious has had to do it. I don't know. I'm going to be curious to see how long the aftermarket shocks last, because the factory ones seem to give up pretty quick. Okay, so let's see if we can get this bottom bolt out. We've got the nut out of the top one. There we go. Don't want to thread that all the way out until we get the jack under there. So I've got the old 4-inch concrete block. Let's see if it's going to be enough to get us up here. You see how the tires scooch in, and that's why when you let it down, you got to roll it. Let the tires find their center again. Because anyway, your 72-inch wheelbase go to about a 64, and does not make for accurate spring heights and all that. I think we're about high enough off the ground there. I think we got an inch or so there. Yep, that'd be enough. So let's see if we can get this bottom bolt out. I'd said something earlier about taking this out of the top, but that ain't gonna happen. Dave too short. Let's see if we can thread this bolt out. Actually, my bolt is pointed down just a little bit like the shock's pulling it up. So I'm gonna, maybe I'll try just sticking my toe under the tire, see if that'll now, I'm gonna let a little pressure off the jack. Of course, we know how that works. Back and forth. Yeah, the bolt looks straight, but I don't know. Let's see if it'll come out now. Yeah. Yep. Sometimes if you're working by yourself, you just kind of got to work that jack, get you where you need to be. So now I've got to break down these rear shocks. We're going to do these from a 3-spring setup down to a 2-spring setup. So one crossover will have to be taken out. And you know, they're just a little bit more cumbersome because of that rock guard on the front there, and then of course the line with the reservoir that kind of gets in the way on you know, these kind of spring compressors. But it's doable. It's not a big deal. Just kind of got to stick with it and get it figured out, and each one will be a little different. This is the rear upper. And this is the rear lower. So here's where things get a little different. As you can see, this model had 3 springs on it. And so instead of, you know, kind of following along with their instructions, you'll have to take these 2 collars completely off and do away with everything here. This spring and this cushion. You'll use that one instead. So let's get those knocked loose, and we'll start threading those off. Now, I wanted to make sure, I felt pretty confident when this whole project started what was going to happen, but I did call them to make sure that I was looking at this right and that all this would have to come off. And you can see there's some grit and grime on there. So I think what I'm going to do is get a little towel with some water on it. Like I said, the water makes it a little better to come off. It's a little sticky, so we'll see if we can get a couple turns on it here, and maybe it'll get a little freer. It may just fight us all the way down. Some of you may have a nice bench to put it on at this point. I really am not set up to be working off a workbench right now. Everything's kind of off the floor or off a trailer or something, so kind of a pain, but that's part of why I'm doing the video, to show you what it's like to do it at home in your floor, and maybe answer some questions near the end of all this when we set it down and start measuring, kind of how you get there. The video does a pretty good job of it, but it's in their shop on their workbench with their really nice spring compressor. And I felt like there was a couple questions that I had outside of what they talked about. So we'll see if we can cover a few of those things. And this is kind of frustrating because it's long-winded to do. And this one's going to have a little spring tension on it. Now this spring is completely shot on this model. It's got nothing. I mean, I don't know what they intended for it to do, so I shouldn't criticize too much, but it's just like having a bump stop, and that may be why the updated shocks are just 2, and you do away with all this crap here. But when I saw what they had sent me, I called them directly, and within 3 or 4 minutes, somebody was on there and quickly answered to my concern. Helpful to have your order number. That way they know what model you're talking about. Okay, all of these, I think all the Can-Ams come with a little spanner wrench, and I thought, man, I'm beating these up pretty bad. I'll go ahead and, it's not the cure-all, but I think it's better on the nut. This buggy's 6 years old now, and I'd like to be able to get a new one, but I don't have any reason to. Really, it's got more than enough horsepower. I can just about change anything on it that I want.
and it's only an improvement. I'm not a big aftermarket parts guy. I don't have a stereo or any of that stuff. I kind of enjoy just listening to the bumps. Okay, so like I was talking about earlier, the spring comes off, this comes off, slide this off, and then we'll take these completely off so we get this spring off and this crossover off, and then we'll run these back up to the measurement. So these come down from the bottom of this hydraulic fitting to here 6 inches, from here to the bottom of this 16 inches, which is down in here somewhere. And so we'll go through all that, get that done. There. What a nightmare. So from the top of that to my rings, it's supposed to be about 2 to 2 1/4. It looks like that one's dead on. Let me double check the front again. Because I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Yeah. I was missing it there. Yeah. 1 inch. Well, pretty good shape. The only thing I'd probably want to do is I might want to tighten those down to raise the ride height up a little bit. I'm okay with it sitting a little low, to be honest with you. But on a 31 inch tire, the back should be sitting at about 16 and a half. And I'm sitting at about 16 and a quarter. And like I said, the front's all covered with skid plate, but we're close on the front too. So I'm going to say I'm pretty happy with this where it's at. Bump stops, everything lined up where it should. Take it out for a little run, see how it does. So that's going to wrap this video up. We're going to throw that thing in the trailer. We're going to take it to Black Mountain in Harlan, Kentucky. We're going to ride some hills up there. I'll do a little shakedown up there and see how I like it. So anyway, I'll let you know in a later video how it worked out and what adjustments we made, and we'll go from there. But if you enjoyed this video, if it helped you out at all, if it made any sense, you know, give us the thumbs up, subscribe. We'll try to put out more.